The night my best friend's mom stood in my doorway, looked straight into my eyes, and asked, "Did you see the photo?" I knew nothing in my life was going to feel simple again. My name is Jake. I am 23 and I live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment on the south side of Denver. The place is old and a bit worn out. The heater rattles every time it kicks on. The fridge makes a soft humming noise all night. The window in my bedroom sticks if I pull it up too high. The carpet is faded in the hallway. But the rent is low, the neighbors are quiet, and for the first time in my life, the lease is in my name. So I tell myself I am lucky. I work at a phone repair shop in a strip mall near downtown. Every day is pretty much the same. Cracked screens, dead batteries, water damage that people swear just happened on its own. I sit at a high counter with tiny screwdrivers and trays of screws lined up in rows. People hand me their phones like they are handing me a piece of their life. I fix what I can, hand them back, and watch them walk away. My routine is simple. I wake up, grab a cheap coffee from the drive-thru on the corner, drive to work, stand under bright lights all day, then come home to my old couch and my game console. Some nights I watch a show until I fall asleep. Some nights I scroll on my own phone until my eyes burn. I have a few friends, but in the last couple of years I really only hang out with one. My best friend, Ryan. Ryan and I have known each other since middle school. We used to trade baseball cards in the back row and ride our bikes around the neighborhood until the street lights came on. He is 24 now. He works as a delivery driver and still lives with his mom in a quiet part of town with big trees and well-kept lawns. He is the kind of guy who is always late but always makes you laugh, even when you want to be mad. His mom's name is Claire. I have known her as long as I have known him. When we were kids, she drove us to school games and made sure we had snacks when we stayed up late playing video games in their living room. She always asked how I was doing in school, not just to be polite, but like she really cared. She has light brown hair that falls a little past her shoulders and green eyes that catch the light in a way that is hard to ignore. She works from home as an online fitness coach. Sometimes I see her workout videos pop up when I scroll. Simple tank tops, leggings, bright smile, calm voice. Growing up, I always put her in one box in my head. Ryan's mom. Safe, kind, off limits. That Saturday started like any other good weekend day. It was early fall. The air outside felt cool and sharp, but the sun was warm on my face when I stepped out. Ryan showed up at my place after his shift with a greasy pizza box in one hand and a pack of energy drinks in the other. "Move over," he said, dropping the pizza on the coffee table and falling onto the couch next to me. The living room slowly turned into the usual mess. Open pizza box, empty cans, controllers in a pile. We shouted at the game on the TV and talked trash every time one of us lost a race. For a few hours, life was easy and loud and stupid. Around 10, Ryan's phone buzzed a few times. He dug it out of his pocket, glanced at the screen, and groaned. "My uncle needs help early in the morning," he said, rubbing his face. "I have to be at his place before 7. I should head out." He stood up, stretched, and pulled on his jacket. He shoved his feet into his shoes by the door, still half talking about some play in a game I had not watched. "If you see my phone lying around, text me," he added as he reached for the doorknob. "I always lose that thing." I gave him a lazy salute from the couch. "Got it. I will save your stuff like I always do." When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt strangely quiet. The game music still played on the TV, but without him there, the noise felt thin. I sighed, got up, and started cleaning. I tossed the empty box, stacked the cans, and picked up the controllers. I was lifting the couch cushions to look for the missing controller when I saw it. A phone was wedged between the cushion and the armrest. "Found you," I muttered, reaching for it. But when I pulled it out, I froze. It was not Ryan's beat-up black Android with a cracked corner and torn case. This phone had a slim dark blue case that felt soft under my fingers. It smelled faintly like clean perfume, not like fast food and engine oil. "This is not his," I said under my breath. Then I remembered. Last week, Claire had stopped by my place with a glass dish of lasagna she said she had made too much of. She sat on this same couch for a few minutes, laughing about how Ryan still did not know how to cook anything that did not come from a box. She had rested her phone on the arm of the couch while we talked. She must have left it here. As I turned the phone in my hand, the screen lit up with a gentle buzz. A message notification dropped down from the top. I did not mean to open anything, but my thumb brushed the screen and the message opened before I could look away. One name was at the top with a simple heart next to it. Below that, a photo filled the screen. It was Claire. My breath caught. She was standing in what looked like her bedroom. A soft lamp glowed behind her, casting warm light over her shoulders. She wore a simple black dress that hugged her shape in a way I had never seen. The neckline dipped just enough to show a hint of skin without feeling cheap. The hem stopped around mid-thigh. Her hair was down over one shoulder, loose and smooth. She was looking right into the camera. I had never seen that look on her face before. Not the busy mom look. Not the nice host look. This was something else. Calm. Sure of herself. A little shy, but also a little bold. Like she was saying, "Here I am, this is me." It was not some wild or dirty picture. There was nothing you would hide from the world for the wrong reasons. But it felt private. Like something you send to someone who matters. Someone you want to really see you. My heart slammed against my ribs. Heat rushed into my face. I was alone in my living room, staring at my best friend's mom on a screen, and every part of me knew I should not be. I locked the phone fast and set it down on the coffee table like it was hot. I stepped back, dragging a hand over my face. "What are you doing, Jake?" I thought. That was not for you. But the image would not leave my mind. The way the dress fit her, the soft curve of her shoulders, the look in her eyes. For the first time, I was not just thinking of her as Ryan's mom. I was seeing her as a woman. I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and grabbed a soda I did not even want. The cold air hit my face. I stood there with the door open, trying to push the picture out of my head. My hands were still shaking a little. I was about to sit back down and unpause the game when there was a knock at my door. 3 quick knocks. Confident. Familiar. My stomach dropped. I knew who it was before I even moved. I walked to the door, wiped my palm on my jeans, and opened it. Claire stood in the hallway. Her hair was pulled back into a loose ponytail. She wore a soft gray sweatshirt and black leggings like she had just come back from a walk. No heavy makeup, just a light shine on her lips and that natural glow she always seemed to have. The hall light picked up little gold flecks in her green eyes. "Hey, Jake," she said with a small smile. "Sorry to stop by so late." Her eyes slipped past my shoulder into the living room. They landed on the coffee table, on her phone lying there in plain sight. Her smile grew a little, softer at the edges. "Looks like I left something important here." My throat felt tight. I stepped aside quickly. "Yeah, I found it in the couch," I said. "I think you forgot it last time you were here." She walked past me into the apartment. I caught the light scent of her perfume as she passed. Vanilla and clean soap. She picked up the phone and turned it in her hand. "Thank you for keeping it safe," she said. For a second, the room was very quiet. The TV was still paused on a race track, frozen in bright colors, but I could only hear my own pulse. Claire looked up at me. Her gaze did not feel like the usual friendly mom look. It was searching, careful, like she was trying to read something in my face. She slid the phone into her back pocket, then tilted her head. "Jake," she said softly, "can I ask you something?" My chest tensed. "Sure." Her eyes stayed locked on mine. Her voice dropped just a little as she asked, "Did you see the photo?" My first instinct was to lie. No, I could have said, "What photo?" Your screen lit up and I just locked it. Easy. Safe. Clean. But she was looking right at me in a way that made every cheap excuse die in my throat. She was not looking at me like a mom talking to a kid. She was looking at me like a woman waiting to see who I really was. My mouth felt dry. My hands were hot. "Yeah," I said quietly. It popped up when the screen turned on. I did not mean to see it, but I did. Her face did not twist with anger. She did not snatch the phone back or raise her voice. For a second, she just stared at me, and then her shoulders dropped like she let out a breath she had been holding. "Thank you," she said. "That was not what I expected." "For what?" I asked. "For not pretending," she replied. "For not lying to me." She walked over to the couch and sat down on the edge, right where Ryan had been earlier that night. The TV screen glowed in front of her. The light brushed the side of her face. She patted the space next to her. "Sit, Jake. I am not here to yell at you. I promise." I sat beside her, leaving a small gap, but it still felt too close. I could feel her warmth. I could smell that soft vanilla again. My knee bounced once before I forced it to stop. She glanced at the coffee table, then turned back to me. "What did you think when you saw it?" she asked. I stared at my hands. The safe answer sat right there in my mind. Something like, "It was fine. Sorry, I did not really look. But it felt wrong. She had already thanked me for being honest. Lying now would be worse. I took a slow breath. I thought you looked good, I said. You looked really confident. Like you knew exactly who you were. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted, but it was the truth. Claire was quiet for a long moment. When I finally looked up, she was watching me with this thoughtful look, like she was taking my words apart and putting them back together in her head. Most people, she said slowly, would have just told me they did not see anything and then avoided eye contact forever. I am sorry I saw it, I said fast. I really did not mean to. It just came up. Her mouth curved into a small smile. I believe you, she said. I know how these things happen. She pulled the phone from her pocket, turned it over in her hands, then looked at the dark screen. I took that photo a while ago, she said, her voice softer. I never posted it. I never sent it to anyone. I took it for me. To remember that I am still a woman and not only somebody's mom and coach. Those words hung in the air between us. I had known her for years. I knew pieces of her story. Ryan's dad left when he was young. She worked a lot. She built her own job from nothing. She made sure he never went without. I always saw her as strong, steady, the one who held things together. I never really thought about what she might have lost while doing all that. I think I get that, I said, my voice low. Not the mom part, but the part where everyone sees you as one thing and nothing else. She turned her head toward me. How do they see you? She asked. I shrugged. Most people just see the guy who fixes their phone, I said. Or Ryan's friend who comes over to play games. No one really stops to wonder if there is more. And is there? She asked, her eyes not leaving mine. Nobody had ever asked me that like it mattered. I hope so, I said after a second. I want to be more. Do something that means something. Be someone that matters. You already are, she said. It came out so sure that it shook me. You show up, she went on. You work hard. You are kind to people. That matters more than you think. My chest tightened. It was such a simple thing, but hearing it from her felt like someone had turned a light on in a room I did not know was dark. Her gaze dropped back to the phone. Did it make you uncomfortable? She asked, seeing me like that. A little, I answered honestly. Not because of you. Because you are Ryan's mom and I know I was not supposed to see it. She waited. And also, I added, my voice barely above a whisper, because you looked beautiful. And it made my heart race, and I did not know what to do with that. Her eyes softened. A slow, real smile touched her lips. You were the first person to ever say it like that, she said. To say they saw me. The room felt smaller. The air thicker. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I did not know where to put my hands or my eyes, so I just sat there, breathing. Claire glanced at the window. The streetlights outside threw soft lines of light across the wall. It is getting late, she said. I should go. She stood up, sliding her phone back into her pocket. I stood too, because it felt wrong to stay sitting when she was leaving. At the door, she turned back to me. Jake, she said. Yeah, Ryan is going out of town next weekend. He is going to visit his dad for a few days. She washed my face like she was checking each small reaction. Would you like to come over for dinner one night while he is gone? Just you and me. To talk. My brain stuttered. Dinner. At her house. Without Ryan. Are you sure? I asked. I do not want to make anything weird. She let out a soft laugh. Things are already a little weird. Do you not think? She said. I could not argue with that. I would not ask if I did not mean it, she added. I like talking to you, Jake. You listen. You hear people. That is rare. Under all the anxiety and noise in my head, there was a quiet answer that felt very clear. Okay, I said. Yeah, I would like that. Her smile grew, warm and bright, and this time it reached her eyes. Friday at 7, she said. I will text you. Okay, I repeated. She reached for the doorknob, then paused, like one more thought had just landed. For what it is worth, she said, I am not angry you saw the photo. I am actually glad it was you and not someone who would have laughed or said something gross. I would never, I said fast. The words jumped out without planning. I would never talk about you like that. I know, she said. Her fingers brushed my forearm. It was a light touch, nothing huge, but it felt like a spark ran straight up under my skin. Good night, Jake. Good night. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there in the quiet, staring at the empty hallway. My heart was still pounding. My thoughts were loud and messy. Part of me knew I should be feeling guilty or worried or something close to that. But all I could really feel was that something had shifted. She was no longer just my best friend's mom in my head. and Friday at 7 had just become the point everything in my life seemed to be moving toward. The days before Friday felt like someone had turned my life into slow motion and turned up the volume inside my head. At the shop, I kept dropping tiny screws and mixing up trays. My boss asked if I was tired. I said I was fine, just off. Customers talked to me about broken chargers or lost data, and I nodded, said the right things, but my thoughts were somewhere else. Every time my own phone buzzed in my pocket, my heart jumped first and my brain caught up later. On Wednesday afternoon, it buzzed while I was in the back room sorting parts. When I checked the screen, I saw her name. Claire, is Friday still good for you? I stared at the question for a second like it might disappear. Me, yeah? Still good. There was a pause, and then another message. Claire, any food you hate or allergies I should worry about? Me, none. I eat almost anything. Claire, good. That makes this easier. I stood there with my phone in my hand, feeling like I had stepped over some line I could not see. It was only dinner. That was what I told myself. Just two adults having a meal and a real talk. That was all. But deep down, I knew it was not just that. Friday came sooner than I thought it would. All day at work my stomach was tight. I cleaned my tools twice. I took apart an old demo phone and put it back together, then did it again just to keep my hands busy. Every time I looked at the clock, less time had passed than I hoped. My boss let me leave a little early. I drove home, showered, and stared at my closet like I was choosing clothes for some job interview that might decide the rest of my life. I finally picked dark jeans, a clean black t-shirt, and a light jacket. Not fancy, but not lazy. You are overthinking this, I told my reflection. My reflection did not argue. I got in my car and drove to her neighborhood. I had been there 100 times with Ryan. We used to race down this street on our bikes. We used to joke on this same sidewalk. Tonight, everything looked different. The houses were lit with soft, warm lights. The sky was a deep blue. The air felt cooler and sharper. I parked in front of their place and sat in the car for a moment with my hands on the wheel. My heart was beating fast, not in a fun way, but in a way that told me this night mattered. I got out and walked up the path. Before I could knock, the door opened. Claire stood there in the doorway, and for a second, I forgot what I was going to say. She wore a dark green dress that fell just above her knees. It was simple, no bright patterns, but it fit her in a way that made my chest tighten. Her hair was down, smooth over her shoulders. Small gold earrings caught the light. Her eyes looked even greener in the warm glow from inside the house. Jake, she said, smiling. Right on time. I held up the small white box in my hand. I brought dessert, I said. Cheesecake from that place downtown. You said you liked it once. Her smile softened. You remembered, she said. That is sweet. Come in. I stepped inside. The house felt different without Ryan's voice echoing from the game room. It was quieter, softer. There was a warm smell coming from the kitchen. Garlic, herbs, something like fresh bread. You can put that on the counter, she said, closing the door behind me. I made pasta and a salad. And I may have made too much garlic bread. Sounds perfect, I said. We moved into the kitchen. For a little while, things felt almost normal. She stirred sauce in a pan while I sliced bread and helped carry dishes to the dining table. The table was set for two. Real plates, cloth napkins, a small candle in the middle. A bottle of red wine sat between the plates, unopened. You did not have to do all this, I said. She looked up at me from the stove. I wanted to, she said. It has been a while since I cooked for someone who notices the effort. We sat down across from each other. The first few minutes were easy. We talked about work. I told her about a customer who tried to dry his phone with a hairdryer on high. She told me about a client who bought a treadmill and then asked if she could still do all her workouts sitting down. We laughed. We ate. The food was really good, but I could barely taste it over the sound of my own heartbeat. As we talked, the candle burned lower. The sky outside the windows turned darker. The house grew quieter until it felt like there was only the two of us and that small circle of light on the table. After a pause, Claire set her fork down and looked straight at me. Can I ask you something real? She said. My throat tightened a little. Yeah, of course. What did you really feel when you saw that photo? She asked. Not the safe answer. The real one. I wrapped my fingers around my glass and stared at the red wine inside like it might help me. Why do you want to know? I asked. Because I am tired of people telling me what they think I want to hear, she said softly. I want to hear the truth, even if it is messy. I thought about lying. I thought about giving her a half answer. But she had already trusted me more than I deserved. She had invited me into her house like this. I owed her more than something fake. I took a slow breath. At first I was shocked, I said. I was not ready to see you like that. Not as Ryan's mom. As a woman. You looked strong and beautiful, and it hit me. My chest hurt in a way I did not expect. I felt guilty for staring, but I could not stop thinking about it after. Her eyes stayed on my face the whole time. A tiny smile touched her lips, but her eyes shone a little, like the words landed somewhere deep. Thank you, she said again, very quiet. I do not hear that often. You should, I said. Really. The silence that followed was not empty. It felt full. Heavy, but not in a bad way. Like we were standing on the edge of something big. Can I tell you why I really asked you to come over? She said. Yeah. She looked down at her hands, tracing the rim of her glass, then back up. I have spent most of my life taking care of other people, she said. Ryan. My clients. Family. After his dad left, I told myself I had to be the steady one. The strong one. No room for mistakes or drama. No big feelings that might make things harder. She took a breath. In all that, I forgot I was more than those jobs. I forgot I was allowed to want to feel seen. Not just as the safe person. As a woman. She looked at me again. There was no joke in her eyes now. Only something raw and open. The day I came to get my phone, she said, you looked at me like you saw more than the version I put out there. It scared me, but it also made me feel alive for the first time in a long time. My chest felt tight. I do see you, I said, my voice low. I see how hard you work and how much you give. But I also see that you are more than a mom or a coach. You are someone who should feel chosen, not just needed. The word chosen slipped out before I could catch it. Once it was out, I could not take it back. Her lips parted slightly. The candle light flickered between us. Do you know how long it has been since anyone made me feel chosen? She asked. I shook my head. Years, she said. Longer than I want to admit. She stood up slowly, like each movement took thought. She walked around the table and stopped beside my chair. I looked up at her, my pulse loud in my ears. Stand up, she said quietly. I did. We were closer now. Close enough that I could see the tiny freckles on her nose and a thin pale line on her jaw that I had never noticed before. You are younger than me, she said. You are my son's best friend. I know all the reasons this is wrong on paper. I know what people would say. I know too, I said. I have thought about all of it. Then why are you here? She asked. I swallowed. Because when I am with you, I do not feel like just the guy who fixes phones, I said. I feel like I can be more. You make me want to be braver. And I cannot stop thinking about you. This feels more real than anything has in a long time. Her eyes shone, not with tears exactly, but with something deep and bright. Jake, she whispered, do you understand what it might mean if we do not walk away from this? I held her gaze. My hands were shaking, but my answer was clear. I do, I said, but I also know I do not want to walk away. For a long second, we just stood there, breathing the same air. Her hand lifted slowly, giving me time to move. When I did not, her fingers brushed my cheek. The touch was light, but it felt like a spark that ran straight through me. When I am with you, she said, I feel awake. And I am so tired of feeling like I am sleepwalking. My hand moved almost on its own to her waist, resting there gently. I felt the warmth of her through the thin fabric of her dress. This is your choice, I said softly. If you tell me to go, I will go. I will not blame you. I will not push. She smiled then. A small, real smile that reached her eyes. That is exactly why I do not want you to go, she said. She rose up just a little on her toes, closing the space between us. Her lips brushed mine in a slow, careful kiss. Not rushed or wild, just soft and real, like we were both scared to push too hard and break something we had just found. The room seemed to fall away. There was only her hand at the back of my neck, my hand at her waist, and the feeling of finally being seen and wanted at the same time. When we pulled back, we stayed close, foreheads almost touching. Are you okay? She whispered. More than okay, I said, my voice rough. She let out a small laugh. It sounded lighter than I had ever heard from her. This is not going to be easy, she said. I know, I replied, but I do not regret it. Before she could answer, her phone buzzed loudly on the table behind us. The sound cut through the moment like a sharp line. She froze. I turned my head and saw. The screen light up with a name that made my stomach twist. Ryan. For a second, no one moved. Ryan's name glowed bright on the screen. The phone buzzed again against the wood of the table. The sound felt 10 times louder than it should have in that small, quiet room. "You should answer," I said. Claire let out a slow breath and stepped away from me. The warmth of her body left my chest where we had been close a moment before. She picked up the phone and turned a little to the side before she hit accept and lifted it to her ear. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice sliding into that soft, steady tone I knew from years of hearing her talk to him. "Everything all right?" I could hear his voice on the other end, but only as a muffled sound. I could not make out the words. I watched her face instead, the way her eyes moved, the small lines at the corners of her mouth. "Yes, the dog is fine," she said with a small laugh. "I fed him. He misses you, but he also loves that I let him on the couch." She glanced back at me for a second, then looked away again. "Jake dropped your game off earlier," she added. "He is here. We just finished dinner." My chest tightened. Ryan's voice rose a little on the other end, but I still could not hear the words. I imagined him smiling, grateful his friend was around. No idea what had just happened in this kitchen. "Yes," she said, "we are both fine. You do not have to thank him again. He knows." She turned toward the window as she listened. The candle light threw a soft line of gold along her jaw. "Tell your dad I said hello," she added. "And please get some sleep. Driving back tired is not a good idea." There was a pause. "I love you too," she said quietly. "See you soon." She ended the call and set the phone down like it was made of glass. For a few seconds, she just stood there, her fingers resting on the table, shoulders rising and falling as she took a breath. The fridge hummed in the background. The candle flickered. My heart felt like it was trying to pound its way out of my chest. "That was your chance to tell me to leave," I said, my voice low. "To say this was a mistake." She turned to look at me. Her eyes were not cold, but there was a weight in them now. "Is that what you want?" she asked. "No," I said right away. "But it might be what makes the most sense." She walked back toward me, slower this time, like every step was a choice. "Sense has been running my life for a long time," she said. "Every careful plan, every sacrifice. It gave me a good son and a home and a job I built on my own. I am proud of that. But somewhere in all of that, I stopped asking myself what I wanted for me." She stopped a few feet away from me, close enough that I could see the shine in her eyes. "Tonight did not feel like a mistake," she said. "It felt real." "It feels real to me too," I said. "But Ryan is my friend. I grew up in this house. He is like family. I do not want to hurt him. I do not want to sneak around behind his back forever. I would never ask you to be something dirty or hidden," she said. "I would never be proud of that." "Then what do we do?" I asked. My voice came out rough. "Walk away now and pretend this never happened. Or keep going and hope it does not explode." "Maybe we do not answer all of that tonight," she said. "Maybe we start with something smaller." "Like what?" "Like being honest with ourselves," she said. "With each other. No pretending this is nothing. No pretending we do not feel what we feel." I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. "Okay," I said. "I can do that." She stepped closer again. I could see the way her chest rose and fell as she breathed. "We go slow," she said. "We do not rush into anything we cannot carry. We see what this is before we pull anyone else into it. If it becomes something strong enough that we cannot hide, then we talk about it. We decide together how to tell Ryan. If it starts to feel wrong, we stop. But we do not lie to each other." Her words settled into me like they were finding a place they already belonged. "I can live with that," I said. "I do not want to hurt him. But I also cannot pretend that I do not want you." Her eyes softened. "When I took that photo," she said, "I stared at it for a long time. I almost deleted it. I thought, who do you think you are, standing there like that? Then I kept it anyway, but I hid it in a folder and tried not to look at it. When you saw it, I was scared. Not because of my body, because you saw me. And you did not look away. I told you the truth," I said. "You looked like you knew who you were. That is what stayed with me." She smiled, small and warm. "You keep saying things no one else has ever said to me," she said. She lifted her hand again, slower this time, and rested her palm flat on my chest. I knew she could feel my heartbeat under her fingers. "Jake," she said quietly, "I do not know where this road goes. We might decide in a month that it is too hard. We might decide it is worth it. I do not have the answers. But when I am with you, I feel awake. And I want to see where that feeling goes, as long as we are careful and kind." "Careful and kind," I repeated. "To each other. And to him." She nodded. I covered her hand with mine. The simple contact grounded me. It felt like a promise. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course. If you could go back to the night you left your phone at my place and change one thing, would you change it? She thought for a second, then shook her head. No, she said. I would not. Would you? I thought about it. About the shock of the photo, the heat in my chest, the way everything had shifted since, the fear, the rush, the truth. No, I said. I would not. Her smile grew a little. Then we start from that, she said. That we are both here because we choose to be. She squeezed my hand, then stepped back. Stay a little longer, she said. Have some cheesecake with me. We can talk about lighter things for the rest of the night. Work, movies, stupid customers. We do not have to figure out the whole future in one sitting. I laughed, and some of the tightness in my chest eased. Yeah, I said. I would like that. We sat back down at the table. She cut the cheesecake and poured us each a small glass more of wine. We talked about music, about shows we liked. She told me a story about Ryan as a little kid trying to run a lemonade stand in the snow. I told her about the time I almost set a phone on fire in the repair shop when I first started. We laughed until the air felt lighter. Every now and then our eyes would meet, and there would be a quiet spark. There, not loud, not rushed, just a steady warmth. When it was finally time for me to go, she walked me to the door. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for inviting me, I replied. We stood there for a second that stretched a little too long. Then she stepped forward and placed a gentle kiss at the corner of my mouth. It was small and soft, but it sent a wave of heat right through me. Good night, Jake, she said. Good night, Claire. I walked out into the cool night air feeling like I was walking into a new life. My car keys felt strange in my hand. The street looked both familiar and completely different. At home, I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand. I rolled over and picked it up. A new message from Claire. There was no text at first, just a photo loading icon. My heart kicked up. When it opened, I saw the same black dress, the same soft lamp behind her, the same calm eyes. But this time the angle was a little closer. Her smile was a little clearer. Her hair fell forward over one shoulder. Under the photo, one simple line. This time I wanted you to see it. I stared at the screen. My chest felt full in a way I did not have words for. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed back. I see you. I hit send and set the phone on my chest. I knew things would not be easy. I knew there were hard talks ahead and lines we would have to draw and redraw. I knew one day I might have to look my best friend in the eye and tell him something he did not want to hear. But that night, lying in my small, noisy apartment on the south side of Denver, with her photo on my screen and her words in my mind, I knew one other thing just as clearly. The day she left her phone at my place and asked, "Did you see the photo?" was not an accident in my life. It was the moment everything truly began.
If this story stayed with your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends.